Hi. Hello. I don't know if I've too much seen either one of these cards. I got a new deck today. I saw it in an ad on Instagram and I talked about it, I think. I saw it in an ad on Instagram. I've been admiring it. Rob sent me something different. It pushed me over the edge. I ordered it. It came in. I think I'm going to love it. I think it's going to play well with the Dungeons and Dragons tarot deck. It's also um, a TTG, right? Tabletop game. Like you can also use it in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. The this or at the cut of the Dungeons and Dragons tarot. I'm just like shuffling this up. I don't know how these are going to play together. I actually had a thought the last time I went live. I've been wanting to use the In Dream tarot. Is that what it's called? Or the In Dream Oracle cards? But I don't necessarily know the context. So I was like, oh, I could get a character and then like use the In Dream for the kind of dream that I don't know. So the deck that I got is the Fable Makers Tarot. What? It's this one. The Fable Makers animated tarot deck. Bring character stories and worlds to life with tarot. And I'm in the see, like, look how thick this deck is. That's why I was like, I got some compared to these don't have like proper title cards, unfortunately. Like even compared to this one. That's why the Witch's Tarot be like, that's why it feels so thin. This deck, thick, it's tick, 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 tick. And I feel like it's going to be a little difficult to shuffle, but also I want to treat it very gingerly because I don't want anything to ever happen to these cards ever. So I'm going to separate these out. And then they have like Whispers from the Weave. I'm in the guidebook. And they have Whispers from the Weave in the guidebook. And I was like, ooh. So every card, here's the card back. Here's a card front. Oh my gosh, you can see him on the camera. That's why I got him. It's the Queen of Wands. Interesting. It's interesting that it's the Queen of Wands. I wonder how. Yeah. That's why I had to have them. Because they move. It's animated. I feel like we get closer and closer and closer to the world of moving pictures. But yeah, I might get like actually get sleeves for these cards. Like it's kind of crazy. But they have Whispers from the Weave where you can roll the percentile dice and they have like extra questions or whatever. I was like, what? That is so cool. And like I have to read it because just reading it was like pretty cool. But I'm like separating these out into 8 different piles to like get a sort of shuffle in. Because again, they are a little thick, but I don't want to. I want these to last as long as they can. These are already my precious. And then we have the Four of Wands, Queen of Wands, Four of Wands. Now, I feel like some of them might be a little more. Oh, yeah, you can see the people. They're dancing. You see? Do, 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 do. Oh, and the flowers are blooming too. Up in the canopy. I might want to turn these lights on. Give me 1 second. I mean, I know I could literally just get up and turn the lights on, but I'm traumatized, okay? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. So the major arcana have like they can be characters. That's why I was like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons, Tarot gives different scenarios for if you wanted to use them in a campaign. 5 of Wands. Let's see. Can I? Kind of. Oh, this deck is so thick. That's like a 4-head. They're a whole 4-head thick. They're a 5-head thick. Kirsty, hi. How are you? Oh my gosh. Have I not talked to you in the past week? I don't think I have. I've been thinking I crossed I dotted all my T's and crossed all the boxes and checked all the boxes, right? I can't believe I forgot to reach out. I'm so sorry. I mean, I'll text you. But how are you? It's good to see you. I'm glad to see you. We may be neighbors soon. There is a universe where we live a lot closer to each other. For some time, at least. Is it just the majors? 1 second, I'm sorry. I don't. Oh, I think I have inverted colors on. There we go. Yeah, for this, it actually works a lot better to not invert the colors. Cool. So let's just I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know what I'm doing or how I'm going to do it. I'm just really excited. I feel like I could go through the cards. Let's just let's start with 2 cards. And I kind of want to roll actual dice, but oh, see, I don't even know. Am I gonna have to just pull these? Ooh. And this isn't one of my most affordable decks, but okay. Oop, there we go. We got 3 cards. We have the 8 of Chalices, the Ace of Wands, and the Death card. I'm like, don't be. Oh, you can see the moon. Okay. Am I just going to be doing this? I'm going to do this to every card to see what I can see moving. I feel like they do look slightly better IRL. Oh, the water is moving too. Maybe I could do that. What moves first? So first I see the moon and then I see the water moving. So when I move it back, it's moving back. But when I move it forward, the water moves forward. I kind of like this. Because the 8 of Cups, it's moving it's walking in the direction that water is flowing. Which is interesting because it's not something that is being followed to the source. It's something that's being followed to the end. And then we have the Ace of Wands. Maybe if I use both to stabilize it a little bit. See, I'm so like, this is a challenge for me. This Eight of Wands feels like an Ace of Wands feels like it's just like brimming with potential because it's not moving. It's like it's charging up. But there are also leaves. There are leaves on this. You see, and then they like turn it, they pop in these like sparkles. You see it right there. Is that a, yeah, there's like two leaves that shot off of this one right here. You can see it right there, the two leaves. Like they're budding. And then we have the death card. And then the death card in this deck, it looks like, well, I was going to say it looks like a sunrise, but it can also be a sunset. So the mane of the horse is blowing. And it seems like that's it. The flag, of course, is also blowing. The sun is, the rays of the sun are moving. Oh, that's so interesting. When I hold it like that, I can see the card back. Can you see it? You can kind of see the card back peeking through. Yeah, now the flag is blowing. Okay. I don't know what I'm going to do with these. So this feel, this honestly, I mean, if I had to read these, and I can, this feels like there's one thing that's like ending and concluding. And as one thing is ending, there's something new that's brimming with potential. And then when the time comes, it's all released. This is feeling more like a rebirth. Excuse me, but also because the two cards on the outside have movement, it's like both the Eight of Cups and Death are heading for that Ace of Wands. Now, Death and the Eight of Cups aren't energies that are too dissimilar, honestly. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Wands. Ooh. Somebody about to get approved. And then the Six of Wands is behind the Seven. See, now that one has a movement. But what I focus on is like on the end of his wand, there's like, you could see he's like, power is being, there's a lot of energy that's like focusing on the tip of this wand. Like he's charging up a fireball or something to cast it. But that's interesting because this is an energy that's almost completely unlike the other two. Both the Eight of Chalices and the Death card have some kind of movement in them, but the Seven of Wands is like someone who stands their ground. I don't know if, hey Google, roll a percentile.
Here are some results from the web.
No, Google doesn't do a D100. Hey Google, give me a random percent. Pick a number between 1 and 100.
85.
85. Oh, I could just like, okay. I'm going to try to come over here. What I'm going to read is the Ace of Wands because it feels like it's in the middle of all of this. If I can. 85, you have 3 of chalices. Okay. 3, 4. Oh, girl. The one thing I will say is like it would be nice because they have a PDF guidebook. It would be nice if it had like the chapters and stuff in it. It doesn't, but it's fine. I can always do that later. Ace of Wands. There we go. Ace of Wands, favorite spell creation. So upright keywords: inspiration, passion, creativity, beginnings, and ideation. Ideation. There's that ideation word again. Hey David, how are you doing today? Drawing the Ace of Wands feels like starting a new campaign. The possibilities are endless and the excitement is palpable. There's that palpable word again. I saw palpable earlier. Something new is about to bloom, and you are an integral part of its blossoming. See, that is kind of, I'm doing pretty well. I'm loving this deck so far. So I have no complaints. And I got to see some friends that I haven't seen in a really long time today. And it was nice to see them before I move. So it's interesting though. I mean, so the last time I saw the friend that approached me, I was on my way to Walmart with my mom. And I had such a strong feeling that I was going to see him. And I was like, why do I like, I have no basis to feel that way. I don't even think they live in town. Like, why would I see him? And then I saw him at Walmart. I was like, wow. Wait, where's Zelda? I don't even see Zelda. How did I miss Zelda? Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm on live chat. That is so weird. Anyway. Um, where was I at? Oh, yeah. Of which you are an integral part of its blossoming. The Ace of Wands represents the beginning of any and all creative endeavors, from the initial idea through the thrill of anticipation of what's to come. Think of a bard's first day at a chosen college. The student has endless potential, and the school has a wealth of brilliance to share. As time passes, however, sometimes motivation and focus wane, and creative blocks surface. The ace is a reminder that even though we can't use a magical focus the way wizards do to simplify spellcasting, excuse me. Oh, okay. What? But usually it still lets me see the hidden messages. That's so Zelda's been around since for a while. But yeah. Thanks for being on it though. But yeah. I was like, wow. You must have been on it quick because I didn't even see it pop up. The ace is a reminder that even though we can't use a magical focus the way wizards do to simplify spellcasting, we can still break through barriers and renew our inventive, stimulated energy in our creative pursuits. Recall the compelling influence of those first moments of inspiration. Pick up the wand and keep going. You have to wield the wand in order to access its power. The reason why, so first of all, the magician and the fairy tale, like when I went on the whole, like it's a focus. First you have the wand and then you have the focus, and then you realize that the power lies within and you don't need the wand or the focus. But we do see, like, again, there's like the spell, like the fireball that is being channeled. Oh, you can't see it. Kinda. See the swirlies at the tip of the wand? It's like it's focusing energy. whisper number 5. So the whispers from the weave. What creative activity have you put off pursuing? What holds you back? So at the end of every entry, they have whispers. Oh, I was going to read that. Oh, gosh. So there are 5 like questions, activities, whatever, to sort of take it a little deeper. So, for example, the first whisper of the weave of the Ace of Wands. Recall a time when you felt incredibly inspired. What can you do to rekindle that energy? The second, what projects have you left unfinished? What do you need to do to either release them or finish them? The third, what sounds, smells, sights, tastes, or textures motivate you? How can you cultivate an environment where you feel inspired to create? The fourth, in what area of your life do you lack passion? How can you adjust the situation to allow for more inspired energy? And then again, the fifth, what creative activity have you put off pursuing? What holds you back? So there you go. Hey Zelda, how you doing today? Excuse me. Oh wow. So yeah, I feel like there's a whole bunch of reading that I could do, and I don't necessarily like I already read enough. But anyway. Yeah. So that's these 3. I could take that farther, but I feel like I don't really need to. Oh, wait, was it the Fool? Yeah, the Fool is one of those where like you can really, because the cape moves so much, you can like really see it. And then there's like the wind that blows across at the top. I think it's super interesting that the dog doesn't move. Oh wait, the tail on the dog is wagging. I take it back. It's got a little waggy tail. It's like it's wagging so fast that you can barely see it. And then on like the 6 of coins, the coins spin in the air. I wonder if I could like split it. Oh look, there's the magician. I was just talking about the magician. The magician and the fairy tarot. See how the coin spins and the cup wobbles? Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this is a little bit more manageable if I split it in half. Ace of coins. I still don't know what I'm doing with these. Let's see. Like I literally just got home. These were delivered when I was at the gym, and then I went home. Ooh, the Page of Swords. Interesting. And then the 8 of Swords at the bottom. Page of Swords, 4 of Chalices. It was thick. I couldn't tell if it was one card or two. What's interesting about the Page of Swords to me is that there are a lot of, like, it's really cloudy, but there's this clear, oh my gosh. If I do that, there's this clear, there's this clear, like, path where there are no clouds. Right? She's giving purple. It is purple. It's purple and gold. Purple, of course, giving crown chakra. Gold giving yellow, giving solar plexus. So it's almost this, like, especially because it's the page, it's almost very acting on what you know. Not needing to have the complete picture, not needing to see everything before, like, whatever that inspired aligned action is before taking that. And then we have the Four of Chalices. Some of these are like oh, but the cup is coming out of a cloud. Well, the hand is coming out of a cloud. Some of these are like, I feel like I'm not the best at like showing them. I can't even get the angle right, obviously. But it's like the little details, and as the water moves and the cups sparkle. Now this reminds me of, and then of the Ace of Coins and the Eight of Swords are the deck halves that are like staring at me from the bottom of the deck. I almost feel like, though, it's like this person. The deck arrived. Did you get a notification? Maybe not. It feels like this person is asleep against the tree, and this is like their imagination or their daydreaming. Like they're thinking, they're in meditation and contemplation. So it's interesting that while they're in meditation contemplation, it's almost like there are certain things, and then because the Eight of Swords is over here. Can you see it? While the Eight of Swords is here, it's like the coin in the hand. It spins. Woo! Yeah. In real life, it's it's better to me, but also like it's easier for me to like. It is a little trippy, but it's so cool. Like the little flowers at the bottom. See how they like move in a breeze? See, but that's the thing here too. I didn't even catch it. And then again, like at the bottom of the deck, we have the things being offered out of the clouds. Now we can see the flowers swaying in the breeze, but we don't see the wind moving. Like we don't have the little wind swirlies. But where we do have the wind swirlies is in this Page of Swords. So I feel like I should just quit while I'm ahead. So it's like there's this interplay between thought and reality that is very obviously there. Because it's so there's like real life, and then there's the thought space, the mental space. This is real life. This is real life. This is the mental space. In the mental space, there's this movement, because we can see the air moving and the clouds moving in the mental space that causes things to move in real life, because in reality, we see the flowers swaying in a breeze that we don't see. Oh. over here in the mental, it's interesting how it's like the sword. Some of them dip into this pond, but it's almost like they're framing the water. Yeah, it is. This is pretty cool. And then okay. Then we get the Queen of Swords and the Ace of Cups under this Eight of Swords. Now, what's interesting in that Ace of Cups is that the bird doesn't get any closer to the cup. It's almost like this invisible force field. Like it doesn't go like up and down. It just like flaps in place. So because I feel like I am not. You might. What if I could just like pop an extra finger? So this is why there's a mindfulness here. I don't think I told y'all. The Eight of Cups is behind the Ace of Pentacles. So this is almost like this is someone who encounters something cups related IRL in real life. And for whatever reason, it's a cup that they can't accept. But they know that it's an internal blockage. So now we come into the inside. And that's where we see, because like in reality, we see them like laid up against the tree as the cup is being presented. But on the internal space, there are all of these swords around the pool that make it hard to approach. Now, behind that is the Queen of Swords. That has a little bit more clarity, maybe. Wearing the same colors as this Page of Swords. Oh, snap. Hold up. Hold up. I think this just got a lot deeper than I thought. Take it as it resonates always. Resonate how you take it. That makes no sense. Take it as it resonates because it'll resonate as you take it. So if you take it to be something, it's going to resonate to be that thing, right? Anyway, I don't know. Trying to be clever. There's something. I feel like it's so hard to read some of these lately because it's like, what? So, whatever this cup is, it's related to this, right? And it feels like these are the same person. So it's like there's this somebody in the internal space that this that this person can't necessarily access, but she's almost reaching out. And in the internal space, like we see that. And then after, it's like after she's set free, we get that Ace of Cups. Because again, the Ace of Cups came out after that Queen of Swords. So, like, this could be a version of you that, like, your higher self or a future self or a version of yourself that is a little bit farther in a certain arena than you are now. So, like, let's say that there's a job that you want. Like, this would be the version of you that already has that job, that's already living the life of the person that you will eventually be. And internally, like, she's beckoning you to her. But it's almost like if you can't see yourself in that role, even though on the timeline of your life, even though you will have it at some point, if you can't see yourself there, like, that's this blockage. And again, we see the Eight of Cups that's following the direction of the moving water. I wish, like, maybe if I hold it closer. There you go. So, like, that way, how it's going upstream. Page of Wands is here under the Ace of Cups. And then there's the Ace of Swords. I was like, we're getting so many aces. There's the third ace. And it's all coming out of the clouds. Oh, you want to see the Page of Wands move? See, but then again, like, there's something going on with the wands. It feels like the wands are charging, but nothing is happening with that energy. Like in the Ace of Wands, we saw it just like swirling around. Oh, we did see the Ace of Wands. Okay, so we've seen all four aces. Cool. In the Ace of Wands, it was just swirling around the wand. In the Seven of Wands, we saw the opposing wands moving, but the main one, like, it was charging. And even in this Page of Wands, it's like the energy is building up, but it's not doing anything. And then we have the Ace of Swords. And of course, in the the crown is spinning. Okay. Of course, there's a lot of air. See, but this is so much more air than is in the Page of Swords. Okay, well, maybe not, because there's also a lot of air in the Page of Swords. And it's interesting that the laurel wreath is on the crown. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. How do I want to use these? Oh, the Emperor. Interesting. Let's see. I'm gonna look at the Emperor. I really need like bookmarks in this. Oh, maybe I don't, because now it's scrolling pretty quickly. So, primary abilities of the Emperor are intelligence and charisma, skill proficiencies in history and survival, upright keywords, masculinity, authority, protection, duty, and structure. Immunity to psychic damage is rare, but the Emperor is a prime example of a creature with such stability. His appointed power flows through him like the rays of the sun, reliable, potent, and steady. His typically lawful neutral alignment leads him to champion order, systems, and reason as critical tenets to bringing plans to fruition through action. He can tend towards stubbornness, causing him to be hypercritical, and overly analytical. If his powerful energy is not moderated, he can become as toxic as a tyrannical dragon. At his best, he is the force that guides and defends. As a cleric's hallow spell creates a refuge for allies, the Emperor's leadership and security produce a safe space where the creative energy of the Empress card can fearlessly flourish. Ooh. Hey Google, choose a number between 1 and 5. Let's make it easy.
Here's a random number. 3.
3. The third whisper. Under what systems or in what relationships are you being subdued or controlled? What can you do to begin to break free? I didn't even think about that. What I really like about this is the immunity to psychic damage through its sort of like mental stability. When there was so much that air was like unlocking. Interesting. I don't know what I'm doing with these. Honestly, I rarely have a concrete idea of what I'm going to do. And even when I do, it doesn't necessarily play out the way I wanted it to. But I think now the Hanged Man is at the bottom of the deck. And the 10 of Wands is under the Hanged Man. Again, like, there's so much wind in the Hanged Man that he's swaying. I don't know how well you can see it. There's something going on with like air and fire. I mean, I guess that's the nodes right now. We had the full moon Libra lunar eclipse, new moon Aries solar eclipse. Jupiter is about to move into Gemini within like a month and some change. Mercury's retrograde. It's like fire is intensifying, air is moving. And it's the air it's like first something moves in the mind and then something moves in real life, which isn't like necessarily shocking, groundbreaking, or new. Something like the Hangman. I think there are also What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make a bookmark, add bookmark, and I'll title this Whispers from the Weave. I don't have my keyboard. It's fine. Because when I go back up, I want to be able to come back down. Because I think it was around page 40. There's a section where you can or was it like 49, where you can read these as like characters. Tabletop RPG. There are many ways to use tarot as a TTRPG player, both in the game and away from the table. As you become more familiar with the cards, consider consulting the tarot in the following types of scenarios. So as a player, resolving conflict between you and another player, determining why you do or don't feel comfortable at the table, building confidence and making in-game decisions, inspiring other players to be more engaged in the campaign, challenging yourself to improve your role play. As a character, deciding how your character might react to a given situation, considering your next character's race, class, ideals, bonds, or flaws, choosing between two options in game, generating ideas for your character's backstory, predicting the fate of other creatures in the campaign. Dimension Door. I just thought of Reem. Where was she? There was a video she's done recently. I think it might have been her Leo reading, where she talked about almost like feeling like a pendulum. And I only mention that because of the swaying of the hangman between left and right. There's something here that is like, well, Fable Maker's class features. The major arcana as NPCs. That's where I want to go. So 83. I'm gonna have to use an on-screen keyboard. Oof. I can just scroll, it's fine. 83. I do love when the numbers match up. So the Emperor as an NPC. Ideal. Do your duty above all and find structure to guide every pursuit. The bond. I am fiercely loyal to those whom I am sworn to uplift and protect. Flaw. My inflexibility leads me to be controlling and tyrannical. Tyrannical. I don't know if that's necessarily what I was looking for. As the framework for the deities represented by the cards, the creatures in possession of each card are any other NPC that fits your needs. So wait, so if we take the Emperor, the ideal of doing your duty above all and finding structure to guide every pursuit, being fiercely loyal to those whom they're sworn to uplift and protect, but also being inflexible in terms of like the hangman. Perspective is everything. I consider anyone who is willing to sit back and learn a friend. I am prone to losing sight of my own needs in the pursuit of surrender. I don't know what I probably should have like looked at a whole bunch of this before I came, but it's fine. This is I don't want to say a throwaway live, but like there are different sections of the guidebook, and I'm just like, just seeing what it has to offer. Oh, I never read y'all the Whispers of the Weave, because that was cool. That was 118. Let's look at 90. Nova, the Fate Breaker. Oh, too far. Nova, the Fate Breaker. Once a servant of the god of fortune, tasked with binding mortals' fates to fortune and disaster, the fallen Deva Nova is now dedicated to breaking the bonds of destiny she once created. She has chosen her own destiny to collect and destroy the tools her capricious God once sent her to distribute. She roams the material plane, ruthlessly seeking the deck she once dispensed. Is this Doreen Virtue? Let me stop. I'm kidding, JK. Ruthlessly seeking the deck she once dispensed, hoping to rid the world of the fate-shaping cards. Nova's connection to these powerful artifacts makes her a formidable foe to those who stand in her way, or a friend to those who would aid in her cause. Forge of Fate, the god of fortune, constructed a forge that glowed with ethereal violet light. The god used the forge to create not weapons or armor, but cards he called the Fable Maker Tarot decks. Ooh, we're getting into the lore of the tarot deck. These magical divination cards could bind the destinies of who used them, much like alchemists tinker with ingredients to observe the differing results. The god of fortune wished to distribute these decks among mortals as an experiment. Binding our fates to cards, big oof. Delegate of Destiny. Once the decks were complete, from the purple flames of the forge, the god of fortune created an emissary he named Nova. This Deva was to journey to the material plane and distribute the cards on his behalf. When moving among mortals, Nova had to assume a humanoid form that would not intimidate them, hiding her vibrant violet hair, 4 feathery wings, and her 4 arms, each marked with one of the symbols of the deck she was connected to: a chalice, a coin, a sword, and a wand. She watched the mortals carefully, trying to determine whose fate could be transformed most dramatically by the cards. Her guide was not interested in small reversals of fortune, so Nova was meticulous in her duty. Nova gave the Fable Maker tarot decks to those skilled enough to use them. The creatures to whom she gifted these decks became lauded as incredibly accurate oracles. But the truth was that the enchanted cards created the fates they predicted. Wow. Sorry. Okay. The hazards of fate. For many years, the god of fortune was pleased with Nova's work, gleeful at the fascinating turmoil his cards were creating. However, Nova began to notice a disturbing pattern in the fortunes created by the cards. She saw that dire fates and disasters were far more frequent than good ones. Her fickle god delighted in observing the disasters the cards created. Year after year, mortals suffered under fates they had unknowingly been bound to through the magic of the cards. The owners of the cards succumbed to the fate-bending magic they wielded eventually. Although the decks were passed from reader to reader, Nova could still sense each new dire twist of fate they wrought. This is like low-key deep. See you later, Eve. Thanks for stopping by. Because, I mean, cards creating fates that we mortals bind ourselves to that often lead to disaster. They must have been on. Let me stop. Oof. Crushed by the wheel of fortune. The more Nova interacted with those on the material plane, the more uncomfortable she became with her duties as the distributor of destinies. The more time she spent among mortals, disguised as just another sailor, tailor, or scholar, the more she began to feel that mortals should be free to choose their own fates. Nova began to lose faith in her God and the destiny bending he loved. As she stood witness to house fires, accidents, untimely deaths, and grave illnesses, Nova grew infuriated with the very concept of fate. Finally, as she watched an entire ship sink, killing all on board simply because one of the passengers had been bound to a fate of drowning by the cards, Nova could no longer bear the pain she was causing. Breaking fate. Sensing this change of heart in his servant, the god of fortune summoned Nova back to his realm. He predicted that he would successfully convince her to return to his service and that she would remain loyal for the remainder of her existence. Nova sensed the same destiny laid out before her, but she was determined to break free of this fate. As she stood before her god, Nova took out the last Fable Maker deck. This was the final one she had hesitated to give away as her pain and turmoil increased. Nova drew a single card to guide her attempt to change the outcome of her existence. She drew the Tower, the card of destruction and tumultuous endings. With this card in hand, Nova channeled enough power to use the deck to alter her own destiny and defy the god of fortune himself. She summoned four elementals, one for each of the suits in the deck. At her instruction, the elementals blasted the Forge of Fate with fire, earth, water, and air, rendering it inert. Bound by the power he had created himself, the god of fortune could only curse Nova in frustration as she tore herself free from his service and fled to the material plane, claiming a new destiny. Although the Forge would never again create a fable maker tarot deck, Nova knew her work wasn't done. Many Fable Maker tarot decks remain scattered throughout the world, still dooming unwitting users to fates they did not deserve. For the first time, Nova was free to choose her own path. She dedicated herself to the task of collecting and finding a way to destroy the deck she had doled out. Nova began to pursue this task with as much zeal and vigor as she had once displayed when she had first distributed the decks. Although her innate connection with the decks helps her track them down, she has found that it also prevented her from destroying them alone. She knows there is a way to destroy a deck by overcoming a challenge for each minor arcana card. A challenge for each minor arcana card? What is 78 minus 22? 56? 56? My brain was like, 56 challenges, 14 times 2, 28, 28, 56. Wow, 56 challenges. Woo! She knows there is a way to destroy a deck by overcoming a challenge for each minor arcana card. Now she is seeking both the decks and those strong enough to assist her with the task of destroying them. All the while, she is hounded by the god of fortune's curse. Though he cannot harm her directly, he uses his power to harm those around her. Should she linger too long in any single place, disasters will begin to occur with greater and greater frequency. Wow. Okay. Nova has abandoned her. So now role playing Nova. This is like a section of the book. It said like Nova the Fate Breaker, and I was intrigued. Nova has abandoned her role as a servant of the god of fortune, but still acts with the intense resolve of someone driven by faith. She directs her fervor toward her new pursuit of freeing mortals from the destiny-altering decks. Nova's deconversion from her former deity service is fresh enough that she still suffers from self-doubt, although she's adept at hiding it. In crucial moments, she can be made to question herself, especially if she witnesses ill fortune occurring to those around her due to her former god's curse. Going from a servant of fate to having to make her own choices has been a huge mental adjustment. If she is befriended, Nova will open up about her worries about her own free will. Nova is well-spoken and formal. Though she has spent many years living alongside mortals, she has always felt separated from them. Nova is just starting to explore what relationships with mortals might look like for her now that she is making her own choices. She uses politeness as a barrier between herself and others, even though she fights, remaining composed and icily respectful. Oh, that bird was just on the window. Where you at? Oh, it's right there. I'm not gonna move the camera and disconnect everything again. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was up there for a minute. It just flew off. Her zeal to undo what she considers her wrongs can lead Nova to make illogical decisions, especially if she encounters resistance to her quest to collect the decks. In her heart, Nova believes her cause is just. She must take back the decks and find a way to destroy them. She has accepted that often doesn't happen without a fight. As a deva, she can polymorph into various beasts and humanoids. However, her physical form may change. Her unfaltering resolve drives her constantly. Nova prioritizes the ends over the means, and collateral damage is no deterrent. Nova can act as both friend and foe. She considers anyone who stands in her way an enemy. However, she will cooperate and perhaps even learn to bond with those who share her desire to overcome the concept of destiny and put people's fates into their own hands. Okay. So here's Nova's tactics. Here are Nova's traits, adventure hooks. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So like Nova the Fate Breaker is a character that if you want to introduce into your campaign, you can. $204 hit points. Woo, 24 D8s plus 96. She has a movement speed of 30 with a flying speed of 90, like feet in a turn. She can fly 3 times as fast as she like walks. 18, 18, 18, 17, 20, and 20. 18 strength, 18 dexterity, 18 constitution, 17 intelligence, 20 wisdom, 20 charisma. She has skills in arcana, history, insight, investigation, nature, perception, performance, and religion. Excuse me. She's resistant to acid, cold, fire, psychic, radiant, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. She is also immune to charmed, exhaustion, and frightened. She has dark vision and a passive perception of 19. She knows all languages and can communicate telepathically within 120 feet. So she's got angelic weapons. She's got Dexens, elemental acuity, fated foe. Nova can twist her own fate to turn failure into success at a cost. When she misses with an attack or fails a contestant skill check, she can choose to take 18 or 4d8 force damage and change her failed roll into a 20, triggering critical hit effects if it is an attack roll. Nova cannot reduce the damage she takes while doing this in any way. Once she has caused this ability, she cannot use this. Once she has used this ability, she cannot use it again until she has taken a long rest. Wow. Sorry, I'm just like intrigued now. So cartomancy, 4 times a day. Nova randomly draws a card from a Fablemaker Tarot deck to summon an elemental of challenge rating 5 or lower to aid her. The elemental type of which depends on the card drawn. Nova can only use this ability if she is attuned to a Fablemaker Tarot deck and is currently holding it. Nova can summon each type of elemental once per day. Oh, okay. So 1 of each per day. If she uses her action to summon an additional elemental and draws a card that summons a type of elemental she has already summoned that day, the new summoning fails, but it does not count against her uses of this action. Elementals summoned by Nova have maximum hit points according to their hit dice instead of average hit points. Okay. All right. I'm just like so intrigued. You know what I mean? Elemental summoning. What? You can summon up to 2 elementals per day, but each type only once. If you use the deck to summon an additional elemental and draw a card that summons a type of elemental you have already summoned, the summoning fails but does not count toward your use of the item. You control the elementals until they are killed. You dismiss them as a bonus action, or they return to their elemental planes. The elementals act immediately after your turn and follow any verbal instructions you give them as a free action on your turn to the best of their abilities. The elementals return to their home planes 1 minute after being summoned. Curse. What? When you are attuned to the deck and use it to divine the future or seek guidance, you are immediately affected by the deck's curse. When you draw a card to predict the future, your fate is altered to match that card, and you will suffer the effects within 30 days. For example, drawing the devil may cause you to develop a new flaw, or if you draw the moon, you might be tormented with illusions. The GM determines the effect that drawing a card in this way has on you and the world around you. The deck can be destroyed by entering into it and clearing a series of challenges. This is Deck Dungeon. See Destroying a Fablemaker Tarot Deck, page 104 for details, which is literally the next page. Destroying a Fablemaker Tarot Deck. The only way to destroy a Fablemaker Tarot Deck is by overcoming a series of challenges, one for each card. As an action, you can draw between 3 and 12 cards from the minor arcana of the Fablemaker Tarot Deck, laying them face down in front of you. As you turn over the first card, you and up to 8 willing creatures within 10 feet of you are transported into a demiplane formed by the deck. This demiplane consists of a series of rooms, each determined by the cards drawn. These rooms have the following features. Each room is 45 feet long by 25 feet wide and has a 20-foot high ceiling. The walls, floor, and ceilings are made of silvery stone that is impervious to damage. The rooms are lit by a bright violet light that has no obvious source. A door of dark metal embossed with an infinity symbol around 2 eyes stands at the end of each room. These doors cannot be unlocked or damaged, and they are unaffected by any spell except wish. Wow, like the violet purple light. So I'm thinking back to the Four of Wands that was like the Four of Cups, Four of Chalices that was laid up against the tree in a meditative state, but like mentally it was the Page of Swords, Eight of Swords, Queen of Swords, like, and then that had some effect on the external world. Almost like that Four of Chalices would have been in one of these challenges. Am I gonna have like a spread now, like where we're like, what are the? I wish they came with challenges, and I wouldn't have to, you know what I mean. Each room presents a challenge as specified in the deck dungeon challenges table. There is a table. Oh my gosh, that is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a small dungeon of 4. We'll just see what it would like look like. I need to find a way to shuffle these that does not bend the cards. If I split it in half, like it's a lot more manageable. I could just do that. All right, I'll give it 2 more. And then I'll cut it. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna do 5. So we'll go from left to right to give me a little bit more space. There we go. The bottom of the deck is a major arcana card, so not down with the challenges because I guess if we encounter a major arcana, only the minor arcana have challenges. It's interesting though. Guess what the bottom of the deck is? It's the Chariot. I feel like that, what I love about this Chariot card is that they're moving. I feel like in a lot of the Chariot cards that I see that have sphinxes, they're like laying down. If a chariot has horses, I'll see the horses as standing, but the chariots that I've seen that I can recall that has sphinxes, like the sphinxes are at rest. This is giving me that Emperor energy. The one that was immune to psychic damage, the one that was stable, who has a will that could put these two sphinxes moving in the same direction. So each room presents a challenge as specified in the deck dungeon challenges table. Also, y'all remember the Enter the Undercity? I don't know if I showed y'all. On initiative, they also have rooms. Those dungeons. I think Enter the Undercity is the only dungeon that I've drawn within these booster packs. There was another one and a different one. It may have been another Undercity. So this one has this many rooms on the back of it. Anyway. So, once you successfully complete the challenge inside a room, the door opens, revealing a dark space beyond. Nothing within the next room can be perceived until you enter it. As you step through the doorway, turn over the next card to determine the next room. When you complete the last challenge in a given draw, this doorway leads out of the demiplane, unless it is the last card in the deck. In that case, a final room appears where Nova will offer the party a choice of boons. See Nova's fate-altering boons table. So after once all the cards in a draw have been turned over and you have successfully cleared each room, you reappear in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of the deck. Any items you received in the demiplane are with you when you reappear. The bodies of creatures who die inside the dungeon disappear from the dungeon and reappear at the deck's location at the moment of their death. Creatures who belong to the demiplane, such as the pages, knights, queens, and kings, disappear when they are killed and regenerate in their respective rooms after 24 hours. We've seen the Page of Swords, Page of Wands, and the Queen of Swords. Also the Queen of Wands, but they cannot leave their rooms, nor do they want to. So I'll read that again. The bodies of creatures who die inside the dungeon disappear from the dungeon and reappear at the deck's location at the moment of their death. Creatures who belong to the demiplane, such as the pages, knights, queens, and kings, disappear when they are killed and regenerate in their respective rooms after 24 hours. They cannot leave their rooms, nor do they want to. Once cards have been cleared from the dungeon, remove them from the deck before shuffling and drawing a new set of cards to form a new dungeon the next time you enter it. Once all the cards have been cleared, the Fablemaker Tarot deck is destroyed and a boon is granted to those who have destroyed it. And then again, it refers to the fate-altering. Oh. So Nova offers a fate-altering boon when the whole deck is cleared. And then you also get a fate-altering boon after you destroy a dungeon. Wait. Once cards have been cleared from the dungeon, removing them from the deck before shuffling. Remove them from the deck before shuffling and drawing a new set of cards to form a new dungeon the next time you enter it. Okay. Once all of the cards have been cleared, the Fablemaker Tarot deck is destroyed and a boon is granted to those who have destroyed it. As Nova was created in the same forge as the deck, she cannot enter the deck dungeon and destroy it herself. If you do not want your players to play through all 56 rooms of the deck dungeon, you can instead select fewer cards to clear and have them enter the dungeon only once. Okay, that's like if you're the dungeon master. Deck dungeon challenges. Let's go. Ooh, girl. All right, so I'm gonna get these, and I'll put I think I only use like 2. I'll put this one. Oh, well, we see that one. Oh, an ace. I'll put this one here, and I'll put the other one. And another ace. There. Bottom of the deck is the star, if you're curious. So, in our imaginary deck dungeon, hold up, wait, I want to bookmark. Oh, I went too far. Here we go, the dungeon challenges. I want to bookmark this page so that if I want to come back to it, I can. Cool. So the first challenge is the 7 of Wands. We've already seen this one. Let's see. Cool. So now I gotta find Wands. So the 7 of Wands is, hold up. Oh, snap, they're different. So a number of magma methods equal to the number of the card the room represents and half as many salamanders rounded down patrol each of these rooms. So it would be 7 magma methods, whatever that is, and 3 salamanders patrol the room. A number of 5-foot square areas of the floor equal to the card's number. So 7 5-foot areas are made of lava. The door opens when all the enemies are defeated, unconscious, or incapacitated. Patrick, you didn't think this out. Patrick thinks some things all the way through, but not many. Patrick is like a go with the flow type of person. Patrick's like, oh, we'll figure it out when we get there. It'll all work out. We'll be fine. Patrick's like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna have a terrible day today. So yeah, let's go for it. Now, obviously, what comes to mind, not obviously, what comes to mind as the 7 magma methods or whatever would be, it's giving me like the 7 of Cups, giving me corruption, and the SKT. I can use the SKT with this deck. The 7 deadly sins. Now, the 3 salamanders, I don't know. How? What was I thinking of doing? Well, let's go to the 7 of Wands. I feel like, though, for some reason, in this challenge, let's see. Let me get my phone so I can Google these and show you what they look like. We're going to go to Google Images. Oop, oop, oop. Oh, got to turn the Wi-Fi back on. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Images. Oh. These look like little imps. So it's 7 of those. It's interesting that it's 7 of these because in the Dungeons and Dragons tarot, the last time I used it, there was whoever like reading the book and like seamlessly. Okay, so that's easy. That part it's already done. So the only things we really have to worry about here are the 7 salamanders. I don't have a monster manual. I got some D&D books, but I don't have a monster manual. Salamander 5e. Oof. And then these are salamanders, like fire nagas. Like that. Which is also, well, that we had the snake cleric warlock Sivrus yesterday. And what was Sivrus's challenge? What was Sivrus about? Sivrus was all about to win over Sivrus. So maybe there are 3 different times and 3 different ways where our light wins out over our dark, where our potential for creation / destruction that leads to creation wins out over our potential for pointless destruction or destruction for the purpose of like one's own gain or whatever. So 3 different times in which we overcome our shadow to pass the challenge to pass this first challenge, but also a 5-foot square. How many? Because how big are the rooms again? They're not that big. It was like 40 feet by, let's see, 45 feet by 25 feet. So 45 divided by 5 is 9. And then 25 divided by 5 is 5. So it's like 9 by 5, right? Yeah. So it's 9 squares by 5 squares, and 7 of those squares are lava. So that's not like too much. Let's just do math. I'm going to try to math this math. Let's do 9 times 5 divided by, 9 times 5 is 45 minus 7 is 38. No, I'll just do 7 divided by 45. So 15%. 15% of the room is lava. What is lava? It's interesting that it's lava because that's got the true soul zealot from yesterday. That was the core, the inner core, where we had, what's her name? Chandra Nalar. Oh, there she is, Chandra Nalar. Yeah. We talked about the lava. Well, not necessarily lava. That's interesting. That's intriguing. Anyway. So yeah, this is the first challenge. The first challenge would be 7 things that we can basically already do in our sleep because we saw that card with the Dungeons and Dragons Tarot. But also 3 different times in which our higher nature overcomes our lower nature, where we do the difficult thing and then the door opens and we move on to our next challenge. Now, at the next challenge, there is a split. So I'm going to do the one up top first, and then I'm going to do the one down below. One second. Ace of Charisma. Charisma is Pentacles, ain't it? Sorry, I'm just trying to see which aces these are real quick. Realu Kuiko. Was that power? No. What is it? Wisdom. Has to be wisdom. Yeah, it's wisdom. Okay. Ace of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. Again, interesting. It's interesting that those are the 2 aces that we get. Because they were the most immediately, whatever, you get it. So I'm going to do the top one first, and then I guess the order doesn't matter too much because to complete the dungeon, you got to go through every room. But I'm doing the top one first. So here we have the Hermit. So we meet someone. technically, with how the deck dungeon is set up, we wouldn't encounter any major arcana cards, but I didn't separate them, so we do. We encounter the Hermit, which I kind of love. So you can see the light of the Hermit shining, and like something moving down here, like some cold air moving. I feel like the Hermit here, especially coming off of that Seven of Wands, it's almost like whatever those three salamanders that we encounter, it feels like they are pieces of us. Or in overcoming those salamanders, there is something about ourselves that we discover or rediscover. And then the challenge of the Hermit is to almost like put those things in their proper places. Or the challenge of the Hermit could be like some kind of realization that we have internally. Like there's something that happens externally, we approach it in a different way, or we go about things in a different way that gets us to reach a different outcome. And then it unlocks some deeper truth about us within us that gives us greater access to those pieces of us. It gives us the ability to tap into those pieces of us without those pieces being exacerbated by external circumstance. So like for me, I used to be a great like rage manifester. All right, I used to kind of manifest primarily through anger, right? It's like, oh, I don't blah 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 blah. I can do whatever by myself. And then boom, opportunities everywhere. But it's like for me, then the challenge would be to not be pushed to anger in order to be like a good manifester, right? Because I wouldn't want to take an opportunity that I manifested out of anger, because I wouldn't want that kind of energy on something that I'm going to be like engaged in. You know what I mean? Depending on the type of opportunity. So it's like, well, how can I be like a pleasure manifester, or at least a neutral manifester, you know, to not need the external stimulus to be whatever. Like if someone's really good at whatever under pressure, to not need to be under pressure, or to not need to wait until the last minute in order to complete something. Like the Hermit would be that. So that's the challenge here. Now the bottom one is the Empress, another major. This is the Empress that the Emperor protects, or I don't know if protects is the right word. For amber waves of grain. There you go. Which is another earth energy. Hermit, Virgo, Empress. I guess it's Venus, Taurus. And then this is the Ace of Charisma. Charisma is the pinnacle in this deck. I'm pretty sure charisma is earth. Charisma, a person's confidence, eloquence, and their ability to influence the material world with their energy. These cards show seekers that a flowering of their inner beauty and power is taking place, or that they have an opportunity to grow their self-esteem and expand their capacity for fun and joy. I'm pretty sure charisma is earth here. It's interesting though. So this is the Ace of Earth, the Ace of Charisma, the Ace of the ability to influence the material world with their energy, clarifying these, which is a creative, generative, manifestive, if not attractive force. So the third / second or third, I love that it's two majors too. because it doesn't matter sort of how we get there. The challenge of the Empress, it feels like in conjunction, especially with the Ace of Charisma, the challenge of the Empress is to birth something in the external world. It's like the challenge of the Hermit within the dungeon is about something within the self. It feels like the challenge of the Empress within the dungeon, it's about who we are outside of the dungeon. Which is, again, is very similar to the Hermit's challenge, the challenge of the Hermit. But it's like with the Empress, let's say that there is a circumstance that would make someone who is usually short-tempered very patient. Something in the deck dungeon challenges an impatient person to be very patient. How can you carry that patience that you gain inside of the dungeon outside of the dungeon? How can you be like, it's like, how can you be more patient in your everyday life? Whereas it feels like the challenge of the Hermit is more like, what did the need to be patient in the dungeon teach me about me? Type of thing. Like the Hermit is more so about realizations and revelations. The Empress is more about embodying, doing, being. So again, they're very similar, but the Empress is almost more internal to externally focused, whereas the Hermit is more internal to internally focused. I also love that this Ace of Charisma gives a mechanical component to the Empress. The Ace of Charisma brings in machinations. When it comes to the Empress, like usually we think of these as like living things, right? The Empress is pregnant, she gives birth to a child. But swords are forged. The Forge. Nova and the Favor Maker's tarot deck were forged in a forge. So maybe here, since we're talking about fate and the Fable Maker, oh yeah, that's kind of similar. Like forging our own destinies. But because it's the Empress, it's about forging a desirable destiny rather than forging the destiny of unfortunate and misfortunate circumstance, misfortune and unfortunate circumstance. Before, I don't know. Anyway, next challenge, we have the High Priestess. Okay, everything is gonna be a major. Again, like in real life, these look so much better. Just because it's a little easier, especially for me. The thing that catches my eye the most here are the very subtle ripples on the wave, are the very subtle ripples in the water that slightly distort them. And because she's standing here, it's almost like she's eclipsing the moon. And then this is like the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Wisdom, Ace of Cups with the High Priestess, just like we had an Ace of Pentacles with the Empress. Cool. Why am I on my phone? What am I looking for? The book. That's what I'm looking for. The Ace of Wisdom. I didn't even read the Ace of Charisma, did I? Did I need to? I guess I didn't need to read the Ace of Charisma. The Ace of Charisma, a new opportunity and a time of manifestation, a time of manifestation and abundance, and it's with the Empress. So accurate, cool. These are face down, by the way. Now let's go to this Ace of Wisdom with the High Priestess. Ace of Wisdom, our ability to access the power of insight to heal emotions and love ourselves. Accessing the power of insight with the High Priestess, revolutionary. Oh my gosh. The quest here, a group of elves asks if the party would aid them in recovering a sacred artifact. In the Ace of Charisma, the challenge or the quest was like some assassins target somebody in the party. A mysterious order of assassins begins to hunt down a member of the party. So if we take it down to be whatever, as it's almost like as we navigate whatever deck dungeon, as we navigate whatever challenges, as we overcome the things within ourselves that are for us to overcome, as we step more into our authenticity, as we step more into an unburdened, unbound self, as we become more and more and more and more capable of handling the challenges in external life because we have conquered challenges in our internal reality. And as our lives move forward, as we tend more to fortune, even in times of misfortune, and as our lives become whatever they will become, and as we come into the abundance and all that good Empress energy, it's just like, don't be surprised if you also like attract some jealousy, I guess, from people who may be quicker to compare themselves with others than they are to just do whatever they need to do for themselves. Or people who just, I don't know, just whatever reason someone would be envious or jealous. But there's a forge. There's a forge here. There's a sword here. The sword there, it feels like there's no, like, maybe you have to cut toxic people out of your life for whatever. It's a possibility. And I only say it like that because it's a story that is told so often that is unfortunately true more often than not. Jealousy is real. Envy is real. It's an unfortunate whatever. But beyond that, it feels like the fortune itself is guarded. It doesn't necessarily feel like a sword that you would have to carry. Now, the sacred artifact that these elves are tasking the party with finding. Oh my gosh, she's literally an elf. The high priestess is literally an elf. Look at that. You see her ear? She's an elf. She may be like the queen of elves or something because she's got a crown too. It feels like whatever this sacred relic, sacred artifact is, it lies within you. There's also something here. Look at that. Can you see the crescent moon? As I was talking about the crescent moon at the feet of the high priestess, whose reflection is distorted in the water as the waves ripple. Cool. I love how this just like synced up. There's something about you being the crossroads of something. Because I'm looking at like the bear here, and I'm looking at whatever animal is on the other side, if that is an animal. And even at the bottom. It's like, excuse me, all the things that make you you. And like, let's say that the bear was the part of the person that is like usually a little gruff and impatient or whatever. But as they find their patience and come into a kindness, it doesn't mean that the bear necessarily goes anywhere. The person still has the bear within them if the bear is still there. Okay. Winston, the refined grizzly, is still a grizzly. You know what I mean? But I feel like it speaks to someone's multifacetedness. I feel like the word multi-gifted is coming into my mind. Um, it's like a multifacetedness, but also it speaks to like the things that we as people overcome, either through external circumstances in life or internally, or of course, some combination of the two. Because a lot of times there is a play between the internal and the external. So the last challenge of this deck dungeon is the King of Chalices. Okay, so we get another actual challenge. Now, what's interesting is, so these imps and these salamanders that are overcome in the challenge of the Seven of Wands, when they are bested, they appear next to the deck. So they appear, the bodies, the carcasses of these bested foes appear in real life outside of the demi-plane that is opened up to go inside this deck dungeon. And I feel like, again, that plays into almost a little bit more of the Empress, but it plays into the theme of the challenge of the Empress and the Hermit, of like the things that you conquer within self, you will see the fruits of those labors external to you. Right. Especially as we handle the challenges of the Hermit and the Empress. Now, the King of Chalices, goodness. Once the King of Chalices is defeated, he doesn't manifest into the material plane. He stays in the demi plane, and after 24 hours, he'll be back in his room. And there he is with the moving waves and his sparkly cup. I love the sparkles in the water in this deck. Like the sparkly cups, the sparkly waves. Oh, snap. Oh, there's a fish. There's a low-key Page of Cups energy here, because if you look at the cup, there's a fish that jumps in, but like behind it. You see that? It doesn't jump into the cup, but there's a fish inside the cup of the Page of Cups. We saw like two different pages of cups with fish in and out of the cup the other day. But then on the other side, we have this ship that is like being tossed by waves. And it's an interesting dichotomy between the fish in its natural habitat, the ship that is like being tossed and turned by the waves, and this king that sits steady amongst all the churning. Cool. Let's see the challenge of the King of Cups. I'm gonna get something to go. Next time I use these, I'm gonna have a little bit more of a plan. But I wanted to like go through these like live so you can see how I genuinely feel. So the King of Chalices. The King of Chalices is an archmage. He sits on his throne in the center of this room. He is wise and patient. Each creature who encounters the king may ask him 3 questions that can be answered with a yes or no. The king answers truthfully, as if using the commune spell. If the king considers all the questions asked of him to have been thoughtful, he gives the party a tome of understanding. The door in the king's room is unlocked. So the last challenge ain't even a challenge. It's almost like the last. Oh, that's interesting though. It could be the last challenge and the King of Chalices. Am I going to have to keep a list now of the challenges that we've successfully gone through? So that if I want to just like use the deck, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a list. So if I do this again, well, not like, oh, this is already a challenge that we've cleared collectively, unless I do it for like zodiac signs. Because if one group has cleared a challenge that another group hasn't, then it's like, take it as it resonates. Your timeline may be different. Maybe this is a challenge. I feel like within my own personal life, like there are external challenges that I'm going through now and like internal challenges that I've gone through. Excuse me. And even with my journey buddy, sometimes it's like there are some things that we'll both go through or some things that we both experience, but we experience them in a different time. So like I could be going through something now that she went through like 2 years ago and vice versa. You know what I mean? Not exactly the same, but there may be like similarities between whatever. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. But I feel like a lot of people have done like external sort of things, and I am just now getting to that for reasons. My journey was my journey, and I went through my challenges in the order that I went through them. Mostly because of what I was or was not willing to do at whatever time. Now I got to do it, anyway. It feels like this could be a blessing or a boon. It depends on the questions that we ask, and it depends on our relationship with truth. To get a truth that we want to know, that we like, is very different than to get a truth that we don't want to know, that we would not like. But with the King of Challenges, we don't have to ask the Archmage anything, because the King's room is unlocked. The door at the end of the room is open. You don't have to clear the challenge. You don't have to ask any questions. You don't even have to acknowledge the King, the Archmage, sitting on his throne in the middle of the room. Now, what's the commune spell? Obviously, we gotta commune 5e. So commune. Let me open up my phone so I can get a little bit bigger of a screen. So it's a divination ritual that belongs to the cleric cast. It has 3 components: verbal, somatic, and material. The material costs are incense and a vial of holy or unholy water. It lasts for a minute and it takes a minute to cast. You contact your deity or a divine proxy and ask up to 3 questions that can be answered with a yes or no. You must ask your questions before the spell ends. You receive a correct answer for each question. Divine beings aren't necessarily omniscient, so you might receive unclear as an answer. You might receive unclear as an answer if a question pertains to information that lies beyond the deity's knowledge. In a case where a one-word answer could be misleading or contrary to the deity's interests, the DM, which is the same as the GM, either the game master or the dungeon master, the DM might offer a short phrase as an answer instead. So in a case where a one-word answer can be misleading or contrary to the deity's interest, the DM might offer a short phrase as an answer instead. If you cast the spell 2 or more times before finishing your next long rest, there is a cumulative 25% chance for each casting after the first that you get no answer. The DM makes this roll in secret. So there you go. That's the commune. So basically, literally everything that the King of Chalices said, but there's no time limit. It feels like there's no time limit with the King of Chalices. You can take however long you want, and each creature who encounters the king may ask him 3 questions. He is wise and patient. I didn't even read that. Patience. Where did patience come in? In the Empress? That was an example of like someone who was impatient has learned patience in the dungeon. And then you get the King of Chalices, who is the master of patience and wisdom. This is the Ace of Wisdom. And then these two brought forth patience, or the Hermit. One of these brought forth patience, and we have the Ace of Wisdom right here. Cool. To get the High Priestess, and then the King of Chalices is also interesting. Just because the High Priestess knows so much and has the potential to reveal so little, to immediately encounter this Archmage who will truthfully answer 3 yes or no questions. If the king considers all the questions asked of him to have been thoughtful, he gives the party a tome of understanding. Let's look at the tome of understanding. Tome of Understanding, 5E. Let's see what it's all about. This book contains intuition and insight exercises, and its words are charged with magic. If you spend 48 hours over a period of 6 days or fewer studying the book's contents and practicing its guidelines, your wisdom score increases by 2, as does your maximum for that score. The manual then loses its magic, but regains it in a century. Interesting. It's a very rare item, this Tome of Understanding. So the Archmage in this room reappears 24 hours after you encounter him. If he considers your questions thoughtful, he gives you a book that increases your wisdom and your maximum. Increases your wisdom and maximum wisdom by 2. Increasing your maximum is interesting because my knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons is as incomplete as my knowledge of many things. But from what I know and understand, like most abilities have a maximum of 20. So you can go from 0 to 20, or like from 1 to 20, typically. I don't know if anything is ever 0. But like we saw, I actually found the Ancient Bronze Dragon. Like in the Ancient Bronze Dragon, it had some abilities that were above 20. Now, when you get above 20, your modifiers and like everything, they can get higher than they normally would. So that's why it's also like impressive or important or some other kind of word that I can't really think of right now. It becomes almost supernatural, like a supernatural wisdom. A wisdom that is above normal human wisdom. I was trying to think of a word that I couldn't think of. A wisdom that goes beyond what it is that man is typically able to understand. It's an understanding that surpasses mankind's understanding. Doesn't approach the divine necessarily to the same degree as the divine is capable of understanding. Again, the King of Chalices and the High Priestess are like, as entities, 2 completely different whatever. Like the High Priestess can answer more than a yes or no question, and she can give you depth and detail. She may not. She probably isn't going to, but she could if she wanted to. This Archmage, King of Chalices, can answer 3 yes or no questions, right? So if you ask, when is the next time blah, 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 blah is going to happen, the High Priestess could tell you. The King of Chalices may say that's not a yes or no question. If you say, is it Wednesday? Yes. Is it Tuesday? No. Is it within a year? Yes. Is it within a week? No. Is it within 6 months? No. So now you know it's between 7 months to 12 months. Anyway, you get the idea. So here you can see on this ancient dragon, it actually has stats that go beyond 20. We get the 29 in strength, the 27 in constitution, and the 21 in charisma. It goes beyond the maximum score of a 20 that a character would start with. But anyway, this King of Chalices, who will reappear in 24 hours, gives you a book that once read is drained of all its magic for 100 years or a century. So I almost wonder the thoughtfulness that one has to display, right? Is it a thoughtfulness that matches the century that it takes for the Tome of Understanding to regain its magic? Is it the thoughtfulness of the 24 hours, that 24-hour period that the King of Wisdom has been whatever? Or is it, anyway, the truth of it is the thoughtfulness is relative to us. This is also a thoughtfulness after we've encountered both the Hermit and the High Priestess. After both of those. I am not the judge of what is thoughtful. It is whatever this Archmage energy here is. I mean, no one's asking if I'm the... So, like, I guess I say that because I could have been like, if we ask questions like this or that or whatever, my brain did kind of sort of go there. But I was like, I'm not the determiner of what is and what is not thoughtful. I'm not this Archmage, King of Chalices. But yeah, we don't have to ask anything, though, because his door is unlocked. What I also like about the Tome of Understanding that we have the potential to gain after this challenge is that this is so much within the self. Between the Seven of Wands, the Hermit, and the High Priestess. And then we have the Manifester, Externalizer, the Birther, and the Empress. But it's almost like it's possible to know things, but what is the depth of understanding there? Because we have the potential to become much wiser. +2 takes us up a whole ability modifier. So, like, let's say that, wisdom affects perception. So when I used the good tarot and there was the Mother of Earth that had the butterfly and then the Mother of Air, or the Queen of Earth, Queen of Air that had the owl. I was like, we see this one small butterfly in the Queen of Earth. Like, let's see. And it's interesting because the star is here. I feel like the star may have come out then too. But I was like, I asked Google for a number between 1 and 20 of what our perception would have to be in order to see those small changes in Earth. And it gave me 17. Oh, that's why. Because it was the number of the star, and the star was there. It was like 17. I was like, oh my gosh, I am not going to roll. And we didn't. We didn't get higher than a 17. So it was like the world is changing in ways that are so small, so subtle, or so hard to notice that we wouldn't even perceive it. But our intuition was the one that informed us of those changes. But if we can't see what our intuition says, how do we handle that dynamic? How do we handle the dynamic of an intuitive hit, download, insight that we get that we can't validate externally? Can we still trust it, or can we still hold that as truth within us? But anyway, +2, that would be +2 wisdom, right? So But I rolled low. I rolled low. So not only would that be a higher roll, like not only would that make our roll two higher, but with two wisdom, it would increase our modifier. So like let's say that at 17, you get a modifier of +3. So if you have 17 wisdom, you get a modifier of +3. I don't think I did that. Like, what is our wisdom? Well, that's you. However wise you have found yourself to be. Um, but with like a +3, like say that your character is 17 wise, or let's say that your character, it required 17, so let's go to 15. Let's say that your character is 15 wise, so you roll a 16, but because you're 15 wise, that gives you a +2 to your roll, so your 16 becomes an 18. Now you are perceptive enough to see those small things. We become wiser, we become more perceptive, we become whatever. Anyway, so we have successfully cleared. I feel like because there were only actually 2 challenge rooms in this 5-card deck dungeon, it seems like it was like fairly easy, but because of the majors that have an interplay in here, it feels like that's where a lot of the complexity is. Because to go through a challenge, sometimes depending on the challenge, the easiest part is going through it or getting through it. What's difficult can be all of the internal stuff afterward. Like the how and the why. Sometimes the how, no. Sometimes the why we determine based upon what we get out of it, or based upon how we are changed or how we change after or during that challenge. If we become better, then the why was so that we could become better. And it's, not necessarily as grand as you encountered this for the purpose of whatever. It's life is what you make it type of energy almost. So that is the completion of this challenge. Let's see. What boon? Where's the boon table? We may not get a boon from Fate, but we will. Or we may not get a boon from Nova, as this is the first dungeon. But I am... Excuse me. The destruction of a Fable Maker tarot deck unleashes an immense power that can shape the fates of creatures who destroy it. Cool. Well, that's hers. Hold up. Oh, wait. Is this the same? Where's the other table? Nova's Fate Altering Boons. Is it the same Fate Altering Boon table? Nova is capable of directing this power to grant world-shaking boons. Once a Fablemaker Tarot deck's dungeon has been cleared, Nova appears in a final room. She offers the adventurers a choice between 2 cards from the major arcana that will have a huge effect on their destinies and that of the world. Once the party chooses 1 card, the rest of the deck is destroyed, and the party reappears in the location where the deck used to be. The boons listed here are suggestions. It is recommended that you pick one option from the possible effects or use them as inspiration to create thematic boons that suit your game. For example, if the forest that one or more characters call home was destroyed at the start of your campaign, while another party member lost their true love, you could have Nova present the party with a choice between the Empress and the lovers. These boons are intended to have a major impact on the characters and your game world, and the change they bring can have complex and unforeseen consequences. However, they are not intended to punish the player for their choice. It's interesting that unforeseen consequences. I feel like it's not unforeseen. There was a word, there was a phrase that came to mind earlier because there's something that I've noticed, pondered about. It was in something consequences or something like that. They're not necessarily unforeseen. I don't have to talk about it here. It's not relevant. So we got three majors on the table. So let's say that after the seven, oh, look who was at the top of the deck. Y'all remember this guy, Glunch the bestower. Because Glunch the bestower is up here, and Glunch is an art from the Dungeons and Dragons tarot, and this is a tarot deck that can be used with a Dungeons and Dragons campaign or anything 5e based, I guess. After the Seven of Wands, I feel like we get a boon. And it's a boon of either the Empress or the Hermit. And then after we get one of those, we also get the boon of the High Priestess. And then we encounter the King of Chalices. So if you chose top first, or if you chose bottom, if you chose top first, then you chose the boon of the Hermit. So some suggestions for the boon of the Hermit are: the party receives a major revelation about themselves or the world. The party now owns a remote tower in a location far from civilization. If you chose the bottom one first, then your boon has themes of: an area of nature that was destroyed is restored. The balance between nature and civilization is tipped in nature's favor. And then the boon of the High Priestess is: the party receives a major insight about a mystery that they could not otherwise receive. The party is united in a telepathic bond that allows them to communicate with each other at any distance and across planes of existence. Wow. So there you go. So a hermit, High Priestess, double boon. You could receive a major revelation about yourself or the world, and then receive a major insight about a mystery that could not otherwise be received. Interesting. The boons aren't intended to punish as well. Anyway, that was cool. That was fun. Let's just look at more cards because I don't often show cards. Here's the Wheel of Fortune, but because they're animated, I gotta show you. Look at Anubis nodding. A nodding Anubis. This is interesting because in the SKT Revelations edition, Anubis is on the Necromancer, which is the moon, and we had the moon with the ripples on the High Priestess. And it was something about those. I mean, there was a thing about those with hearts that are heavier than the feather and the crocodiles. But it was the Ten of Swords, Six of Wands, the Necromancer, Ace of Pentacles. Some card was first. And it came out in a way that was like, there's something that we overcome and something that we accomplish before we are judged by Anubis. There's an opportunity to make our heart light before it is weighed against the feather. And there was the single born fruit of the tree of knowledge and the Six of Wands, the champion, that came out before the judgment of Anubis. And then it was presented again. It was the bread of life, the Ace of Pentacles, because it was handed to that person. I was like, they're handing what was already earned at the champion. But anyway, Anubis is nodding approval in this Wheel of Fortune, which is interesting. Oh, and then there's this snake over here. See all of these metaphysical clouds? So deck dungeon ties to the real world are different than like demiplane ties to the real world are different than mental to physical, which makes sense. There's the death card that we've already seen. Injustice, death and justice together. Oh, oh, girl. The plastic. Oh wait, I just pressed it down. These have like a plastic protective cover on them already. I'm gonna get sleeves. I haven't done it for any other deck, but I'm doing it for this one. Look at her hair blowing in the wind. This is so cool. The curtain is also blowing behind justice. Because the curtain is blowing behind justice, it almost implies that there's a window. So it could be like a window into a hey Holly, how you doing? It could be a window into like a world that we've never known or that we would never know. Also, she's literally holding the scales after talking about a nodding Anubis. The boon of the Empress restores a previously destroyed natural area, which is interesting because this area of nature that's destroyed doesn't have to be a physical, like it doesn't have to be in the physical realm. If we have a natural connection to the divine that has been eroded over centuries, over our lifetime, has whatever, because the world is whatever the world is, because that is natural, we could use the boon of the Empress to restore that. And then if we use the boon of the Empress to restore a natural connection to the divine, then it's like the boon of the High Priestess, where you can receive a major insight about a mystery that you couldn't otherwise receive. It's like that's how either the boon of the Hermit or the boon of the Empress could lead to that specific boon of the High Priestess. The Hermit, through whatever additional understanding we get about ourselves or the world. Again, the Empress, because we are naturally connected to all that is. And if that connection's been destroyed, it can be restored. Wow. And then once that is restored, girl. Now we have the Six of Swords, and who else? The Six of Swords and the Four of Swords. Who we get spinning swords? What about the Six of Swords? I wish I could make these look as good on the live as they do in real life. See the spinning swords and the Four of Swords, and then the water moving and the Six of Swords. What I like about the Six of Swords is, you remember how, like, in the Suit of Swords, purple is, I mean, all right, see you, Holly. You too. In the Suit of Swords, purple, like being crown chakra, like purples, dark blues, crown, third eye, throat, not too surprising. But this is a purple, like this is a clear purple sky. Where we saw that Four of Cups set up against the wall before. Oh my gosh, that's literally her. That's the Queen of Swords. I caught the gold trim. I was like, that's the Queen of Swords. And I guess the Page of Swords is her child. Makes sense. Ow. Cool. This deck is massive. And then we have Temperance. Ow. I feel like there's like something like right in here as I move and like, ooh. The wings are moving. The water is pouring between his feet. The sun is shining in the back. This is interesting though. Around his foot doesn't move, but the water moves around it. It's almost like how the wand was pulsing with energy. It's almost like the foot of the angel is like sending something out in the water. Anyway, we're going to get a final card. Let's look at another one. Oh, no reversals. No reversals. I just put this whole half of the deck back in reverse. Guess who it is? It's the Page of Swords. It's interesting. So when the Page of Swords was a child, as we just saw in the Six of Swords, the skies were clear. As this Page of Swords has reached some kind of maturity, I'm going to say the skies are clearing again. And then the Seven of Coins and the Nine of Coins at the bottom. Seven of Coins, Nine of Coins, Nine of Coins, Knight of Coins. See the coins they spin. I'm obsessed with the spinning coins. Okay, that's not our final card. Wait, I think that was our final card. Oh, another final card, please. We get two cards, Death and the Six of Swords. Six of Swords again. It's whatever the sun is. This sun clears out. This is a sun that cannot be obscured by clouds. So the sun effectively clears out any clouds in the sky because it's a light that cannot be obscured. Again, you see the waving flag, the waving mane of the horse, the rolling waves. Oh, I never caught that. There's a little ship. Right there. You see it? There you go. Tiny little ship right there. They're moving forward. And death is, it's like they're moving in one direction and death is moving in the other direction. They could be moving into the future while death is heading into the past. Then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Four of Swords again. See? But it's the Four of Swords with the baby and the mother. So this could be like if someone has wounds like around a parent or parenting, as they move forward. Excuse me. Those wounds are healed. And it's almost like through some kind of forgiveness, maybe. But it's almost like through a dedication to moving forward. And then at some point, they realize that maybe like something that hurt them in the past or something that they may have thought they'd never get over or recover from, one day you look up and like you have. Oh, how do I get these back in here? Oh, okay. Then we have the Three of Wands over here. Three of Wands, Two of Coins, Five of Wands, Five of Coins. I wish I could. There we go. I'm going to get better at these. There's more ships. Ships in the Two of Coins, ships in the Three of Wands. There's like 3 ships in the Three of Wands. You see in the back? Those ships. Now, what's interesting about the wand is I've only seen a wand in a hand. I also love that we get to see the wands bloom. See, there you go. Little bloom on the wands. These 2 wands, it's almost like they're plugged into ley lines because they charge energy without being touched. You got all these ships in the back. Oh, so we get one ship that ain't really doing. We get a ship in the back that's like, where then like you see that? There's a ship right behind them that's like riding that wave, and it's like gone. This little ship back here is just like almost maybe it's anchored. This ship is anchored, but then there's a ship that's unanchored that like just comes from behind them and just like rides that wave. That's kind of wild. Wait. Cool. Then we get a final card from the other deck. I am the hungry. I am the hungry. I'm going to have to come up with spreads or scenarios or what. We'll see. There's actually like spreads in here too. Of course. In the book. In the guidebook. In the guidebook. In the guidebook. Book. I need to invest in some sleeves. The Fable Makers Tarot animated. The Fable Makers animated tarot deck. I saw it in an Instagram ad and it looked cool. I'm not disappointed. I'm very much so not disappointed. I am very pointed. I am appointed. I'm very appointed with this deck. Oh, there we go. Ooh, I didn't even get to get a proper shuffle. They flipped right. Why does the sun card look like a death card? We get the sun, an ace that we haven't seen, the ace of intelligence, maybe, the moon, and the queen of wands. I'm assuming the queen of wands. We get the sun and the moon with an ace of swords energy in between them. That is interesting. And then this queen over here. Bottom of the deck is this six of intelligence. If this is a six of swords energy again, he's got a sword. There's movement. It may be. What immediately stands out to me is that there is something touched in the major arcana of the moon that is in the wand and the staff of the Queen of Wands. And she's got dragon flame coming out of her arm. Oh, it's Perth. There's some runes on this ace. We just received a tome of understanding, assuming we received a tome of understanding from the King of Chalices challenge. We asked 3 thoughtful yes or no questions and were granted not only answers, but a tome of understanding. That's a very similar energy to that Keeper of Karnak, right? Because that was the Keeper of Karnak, right? Or no? I feel like it was the Keeper of Karnak energy for some reason. Yeah. With like, I think it was what got the True Soul Zealot. And how it was like, and the challenge of the trial that Massey went through, challenges, trials, and dungeons. Dungeons and Dragons, literally. Here's the dragon for the deck dungeon. Deck dungeons and moon dragons. Deck dungeons and lunar dragons. That's what I'll call this. Because there was something that got the True Soul Zealot, some point that he was helping us reach. It's the Keeper of Karnak because of the disturbed spaces. The Bramble. It was more so the Bramble whatever. The Bramble Sovereign. It was more the Bramble Sovereign than got the True Soul Zealot. But it was like something about going in and not disturbing those spaces. The tome of, because of the example, because of the metaphor. There was the metaphor of like, let's say that there is a very wise, very compassionate person that we are seeking their counsel for whatever reason, but we have an insecurity around our own wisdom and our own intelligence. Just like the boon is not meant to punish the player, whoever this wise whatever is. They don't intend to hurt, upset, or offend us. So if there's a question that we ask that has a truth that might upset us, or it's like they won't speak to us in a way that would inflame any insecurity. So like what happens is, it's like, let's say they put something to us in layman's terms so that we don't feel too dumb or too stupid or to whatever. But there's something about putting something in layman's terms that causes something of great significance to be lost. And so the challenge of the Bramble Sovereign was to get us up here so that we can get an up here answer, so we can obtain an up here understanding. Because if it has to be brought all the way down here, there's something that we're going to miss, to the point where it's not even beneficial for us to have that meeting in the first place. If it has to come down to our understanding in order for us to have a conversation, then how are we ever to understand more? If it has to, like, you know what I mean? But it's to make us comfortable. So even if there's a truth that we don't want to hear, but it's not going to be like psyche shattering or whatever. If we, again, here's our relationship with truth again. Like if we are capable of hearing or seeing a truth that we don't want to see, but remaining more or less stable, then whatever that wise one is, it will give us that uncomfortable truth. But if we are not capable of receiving that truth without, again, like shattering or falling to pieces or whatever, it will withhold it. And I Ching, number 2, the fool seeks out divination. Divination does not seek out the fool. Do not consult again until you obtain more experience or whatever. But I say that because, like, again, it's that tome of understanding. There's something that he's pulling out of it. And then there is the Perth rune right here, which is one of the first out of the book. Oh, look, there's Jifu. Or Git. Not Git. Jifu, or is it Git? I don't know the runes. There's the X ones. Remember, like Jifu City, or Gifu City, Gifu Prefecture, the X of Judgment. 488 is 20, which is Judgment. That whole like little whatever. What comes second out of the book is Perth. There's the ripe, mature fruit in the forest that opens up something that we had never seen before, because now we have the ability to comprehend and understand. Cool. So there's a this is one of those look at it and take it how it resonates for you types of things. I will read these. I'll read these from the book. How is it? Like this. Yes, this is how they came out. The cards are going to be all wonk, 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 wonk. There we go. There you go. Something like that. With this at the bottom of the deck. We'll start with the Sun. I'm pretty sure this is the Ace of Intelligence. That is the Ace of Intelligence, which is the Ace of Swords. I'm pretty sure, because strength is fire. The Sun. Returning to the innocence and vitality of childhood. The Ace of Intelligence, finding your inner wizard and using your genius to discover new ideas and have breakthroughs. The Moon, facing and allowing deep seated fears to dissolve in the light of your awareness. Remove words from the mind and breathe. And then the Queen of Strength, spreading the love and letting your light shine, having courage to take it to the next level. So, again, a very obvious sort of like throughput between the Ace of Intelligence, the Moon, and the Queen of Strength. This sun is kind of sort of just floating out here to me. Now, what I can see is like this wizard channeling something of the sun into the orb of the moon. Maybe it's the sword of the sun, the runes, and the ace of intelligence, and the glow of the orb in this moon. Also the dragon, the bone dragon. And then this queen of strength who has the orb set into the staff. What is this 6? Is that the 6 of intelligence? Because she's giving 6 of swords. It is the 6 of intelligence. Here's the 6 of swords energy again. Freeing yourself from burdens and old ways of thinking. Freeing yourself from burdens and old ways of thinking. Again, old ways of thinking. Page of swords. Freeing yourself of... Cool. I am going to attempt to channel my inner Everlong mystic and put something semi-cohesive together. Some way to use these. I also still want to use the In-Dream Tarot or the In-Dream Oracle in some way that is not a dream. But I'm a high-key fan. High-key fan of the Favor Makers Tarot, the Favor Makers animated tarot deck. High-key a fan of a lot of the features of this guidebook already. That kind of sort of maybe play more into incorporating Nova into like a campaign. Oh, 3 salamanders. The fire court has salamanders on them. I saw the salamanders in some deck recently. I feel like there's a deck that I have that has a salamander on the Queen of Wands for some reason. Because I feel like mentioning how she's usually shown with the black cat, but there was a deck where she had a salamander too. But since she isn't typically shown with the salamander, so going back to the challenge of the challenge room of the 7 of Wands, since there are 3 salamanders, it could have been a representation of the Page of Wands, the Knight of Wands, and the King of Wands. Hold up. I can do that. I can look at this later. It's fine. I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that I guess part of this was also about like you taking fate into your own hands. Maybe also realizing how there may be some people or some things in your life that have potentially a little bit more control over circumstances that you experience than they necessarily should. And it's interesting because I feel like I was kind of sort of talking about that with my mom, especially when it came to like the solar eclipse, about how, and it's something that comes up every now and then, like not only the power of how thoughts can shape realities, but how collective thought can shape a commonly experienced reality. And how if there's like a lot of fear around something, then it's much, much, much more likely to become possible. And so, how some forces can just like hijack one's, how some forces can use those things to make a certain reality or a certain version of reality a lot more likely. And how sometimes, instead of truly assuaging, that I'm pretty sure that's the word I wanted, how sometimes instead of assuaging a certain fear by whatever we do, we can actually be like fanning the flames of making something our fate that doesn't have to be. And it's interesting because I can't remember the exact um, whatever the exact situation or circumstance I was observing, but I was observing something, or I was seeing something, and it took me back to years ago. I feel like when it was all about the power of attention, 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 not intention, the power of attention. But because there were so many schools of thought, because it seemed so common that the best way to deal with things happening in reality was to ignore them. It it's almost like there were teachings that didn't necessarily instill a certain powerful way to use attention to subvert circumstance. But instead, we treat it like Schrodinger's cat. We ignore it and then hope that by the time we do eventually get to the box, the cat is still alive. And it's like if you trap a cat in a box and you don't give it any food, it's gonna die. If you don't give it anything to sustain itself, if you have a sick cat and you don't give it medicine, you have a living cat and you don't give it food, it's gonna die. But again, it's like that's something that came up years ago. And it was almost like if we were tapped into the power of our attention, things would be going very differently. But of course, it's like it's all an illusion, it's all a distraction, none of it is real. Pretend like it's not happening. Reality will somehow magically get better. These problems will somehow solve themselves. And of course, it didn't work out that way because things don't work that way. And we end up where we are. But again, it was almost like if we had the power of our attention, things could have been very different. And that's one way how certain things become rulers of fate when they shouldn't have that power. Where they don't necessarily have to have that power. But yeah, every now and then there's a wave of, oh, I stopped watching tarot because I would see this and it doesn't matter. Where we give out the power of our fate to influences that don't necessarily need to have them. And I personally believe it's possible to give something attention and not further the whatever, right? Like if you see someone stealing something, you looking the other way doesn't prevent that theft. But sometimes calling attention to it, pointing it out, working towards solution will. But maybe, it's a whole bunch of, anyway, it's fine. That's obviously how this is resonating for me. It ain't gotta resonate for you in that way. That was this whole take whatever as it resonates. Your path is your journey, is your life, is yours to take in whatever way it's for you to take. So thank the lovely folks for stopping by who stopped by. For the rest of you, I hope you have an excellent whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and what you find. And I wish you a very merry journeying. Bye.